Good evening. We have Mr. Tauseen Malik with us. He's a general manager, Hilton Hotels in Oregon, USA.
Hi, Hari.
Hi, Tauseen. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you.
Likewise. The feeling is mutual. It's almost 20 years later. I'm seeing you. Thank you so much for accepting to be. For the next 60 minutes, we're going to discuss a lot of things. Thank you so much first to be with us for the next 60 minutes.
Hari, it's been 20 plus years since we were in SHMS and Co. And thank you for having me. It's an honor. And man, I want to take this opportunity and congratulate you. What an incredible job you're doing. You made us proud. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Malik. There are three segments in this. Okay, the first segment is who is Mr. Tauseen Malik? Where was he born?
I'm still
Where did
trying
he
to
do his
figure that
schooling?
out. Hari, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Okay, and then where did he do his schooling? Where did all the pleasant memories you have from your school, your college, your PG days, your friends, faculties, professors, all those things you can touch. And then the second one is the main segment where we focus on the hospitality industry during this COVID phase. We're going to talk much detailed manner in that area. And then the third one is a separate segment. When we get there, I'll tell you what we're going to discuss there. Now we'll start with who is Mr. Tauseen Malik?
Yeah, wow. So I'll try to keep it brief. I was born. I'll start kind of where I started my journey from, right? So I was born in Kashmir, in Srinagar, and small family, one sister. My parents both were professionals. My dad was a doctor, and my mom an engineer. So from very early on, there was a lot of emphasis on education and instilling the right values, a lot of discipline. So I grew up in that kind of home environment. What was interesting and what was also helpful for me and even for my sister, that while our parents were instilling these values in us, we got to see them in action. My mom was very big on honesty, and she was an engineer, and I sometimes used to go with her to her office once in a while just to see, and she would show me around and hear her stories at home, and how she stayed true to her path of honesty really kind of set that tone for me early on, regardless of the challenges that she used to face the work environment. And then from my dad, he was so passionate about being a doctor, and when I used to go with him on his days off, or sometimes he used to visit the hospital, and how he used to interact with his patients and his team, and seeing his work ethic, that really kind of that is something that set on with me early on as well. And so that was kind of our early childhood. My dad later on, he took a role in Middle East. We relocated to Saudi. So early, kind of later part of childhood, it was between Saudi and India, back and forth, Kashmir. And I got my first exposure of this foreign culture, a different culture, living in Saudi Arabia. And then all the way up to kind of my until I was in 12th grade, we were doing this back and forth. Interestingly, my dad, like many parents, had wanted me to be a doctor, because he was also a doctor. And I remember that was an interesting conversation for me. I have to back up a little bit. I remember one of my first early trips, my dad and my uncle, who happened to be in the industry as well, we took a trip to Jammu. And I remember the hotel. We visited the KC Residency Hotel in Jammu. For those of you who might be familiar, it used to have a revolving restaurant. And I was so fascinated by this hotel. And I got to meet the general manager, and I was still young. I must have been like 10 years old. And I remember asking him, how do you get this job that you have? Because I was so fascinated by that. And I think that was like one of my first early memories of kind of seeing the hotel industry. And then as I grew up, and kind of was traveling and looking at hotels, and just got really interested in the travel industry. And having that conversation with my dad, when he said, I want to pursue medicine, and me saying that I'm not so interested in medicine. My I think that when I look back, that was one of the most profound moments in my life, because my dad came from very humble beginnings, and I still remember, I was still in 10th grade, had already bought me a Littmann stethoscope. And I remember that because I remember the L on that stethoscope, and he had told me that he couldn't afford that stethoscope when he was going to med school, but he wanted me to have that when I go to med school. So when I told him I don't want to be a doctor, he was very understanding, and he was like, I really want you to. He was sad, but he was very understanding, saying that I want you to pursue what you're passionate about. So then, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out schools. This was before the Google and, the smartphones. You used to send, you had to call these universities and, contact them, wait 3 months or 2 months before you get a brochure from them, or go to Delhi and work with these agents. And we spent 6 months doing that. And after a lot of research and a lot of family meetings between me, my dad, my mom, my sister, and people who could guide us through this, we I went to Switzerland. I also remember, going back to instilling values. We had a lot of discipline at our home. So even though I was going to Switzerland, my dad said, he said, I want you to pass the national test for hotel management in India first, and I want you to qualify that. And if you qualify that, then I will send you to Switzerland. So I remember preparing for that test and passing the written exam of that test. And I didn't go for the verbal. And at that time, my dad was probably a bit convinced that I might do something with my life. So he was like, okay, now I can invest in you. And so he put some pressure on me. He's like, hey, this is your make or break moment. We're sending you to Europe, and kind of make something of yourself. So I was not the best student in my 10 plus 2 days. So I think he had good reason to say that. And then I spent 3 years in Switzerland, where I met you and several other friends who we still are in touch with, some of them, and just had an incredible experience of learning, experiencing the European culture. And from there on, kind of came to US. That was also one of my goals from very early on. I remember when I was in Saudi, I was still probably in eighth, ninth grade, and I used to, kind of was always interested in just the overall world and the countries, and was fascinated by, at that time, US was still kind of the land of opportunities. I remember writing to the US Embassy in Riyadh when I was probably in my eighth or ninth grade, and saying, I want to go to US. How do I go about it? That's how kind of early on I had set that goal. And and they actually responded to me. They said, hey, here's what you can do. And basically, it was a nice letter to say it's too early for you. So and then I made that happen. I was very fortunate, with God's blessings and my with my parents' prayers. I made it to US. It was not easy, even from Switzerland in those years, trying to get the visa and all that. So came to US. I remember I landed in US on 1st September, just 10 days before 9/11 in Denver, Colorado. And I was here for 10 days, and then 9/11 happened. And 2 days after 9/11, I got laid off. And here it is, after working so hard. I get laid off. And as a J1 student at that time, that was the visa I was on, I was given 30 days. They said you have 30 days to find a job, or you have to go back to your home country, right? And this was before the internet era, when this was before LinkedIn and all these websites now you can click on and apply for jobs. And from there on, I kind of I think that was another profound moment for me. What do I do? I have 30 days to find a job, and how do I stay true to my path? And how I was trying to remember everything that I've learned all my life, and all the values that have been instilled in me. And I said, okay, let's see how we can make that happen. And things worked out. I was also fortunate in some areas, and I ended up finding an opportunity and worked my kind of way up. If I have time, I quickly want to share that. I remember I the only job that I found at that time was a job in Vermont. Those of you who are in US will know where Vermont is. It was a ski resort called Smuggler's Notch. Very cheesy name. 2 hours from Burlington in Vermont, and the only job they had, so they had these big villas, right? And the only job that they had was they would give you 4 hours, and you have to deep clean that villa. So every day I used to get two villas, and I had to deep clean. So I remember showing up to that job on my first day with my like jacket and my kind of my suit, and my supervisor is like, "What are you wearing? Can you please go and wear some joggers? You're going to be cleaning rooms, buddy." So I was like, okay, and I did that for a month. Just cleaned rooms, cleaned toilets, and literally on my knees. And my dad used to call me, and he was like, "How's your internship going?" And I was like, "Gee, it's going great. It's going great." And you know there was an unspoken truth there between me and my dad. He knew what I was, he knew that I'm working hard and things are not going, but he also kind of reassured me that things are going to fall in place. Just keep on working hard, and kind of shared his story of how he struggled in his early days, and it all pays off. So, and from there on, one thing led to another. I got some more opportunities and left Vermont, and eventually went to UK for a couple of years, and got married in 2004. My wife corrected me yesterday, because when I was kind of going through the story, I said 2005, and she said, "No, we got married in 2004." So, so we got married in 2004, August, in Srinagar. And now I have three beautiful kids. I have a 5-year-old, and I have twins, who are 14. And now, and we came back to US, and since then my career has taken me to France, Saudi Arabia. I spent some, went for a course in South Africa. I was in St. Petersburg, all over US, and I've just been so fortunate all my life, that there have been people who have kind of guided me along. So that's kind of my nutshell brief, first intro. I don't know if that's what you are looking for, but that's what comes to mind.
No, it's good. It's good. You have actually shared the entire whatever has happened, the entire period, and in a nice way, you have given it. It's it's more like visualizing more of a Indian movie where you actually show from your from the day you wrote your exam, convincing your parents till where you are today. Now, in this journey, normally we do understand it is not. I mean, like yes, you highlighted the areas where you had to face certain hardships or challenges, but can you share on the lessons which you learned, like top lessons, few lessons, 4 or 5 lessons in this journey, which are key highlights
Yeah,
from your journey?
sure. Man, I've made so many mistakes in life that I could write a book on lessons. But there's a few that I want to share that are probably relevant from a professional and even personal perspective. So I'll be brief, because I know we're limited on time, and it's a mixture of personal and professional. So one thing that being a leader in the industry and coming up through the ranks, and just like interacting with people, one thing all my life, all my career, what I've noticed, that people who have a burning desire to achieve excellence and have that very strong intention to accomplish something in life, that that is like the foundation of what they're going to do in life. So you can call it passion, you can call it purpose, you can call it calling, but unless people have that burning desire to achieve that, you can't chart out a path, because without that burning desire, it's very hard with all the obstacles that you face in your life. So I always advise, if I'm advising people, like find that streak in your life and kind of follow that. tangibly, how what has worked for me is you have to set goals. And I think one thing that I've learned is that goals have to have timeline. I'll give you an example. When I graduated from SHMS, I kind of wrote my goals, and I said, being in the hospitality industry, I said, by the time I'm 35, I want to be a general manager of a big hotel. And I worked my way back from that. So I was like, okay, at 33, here's what I need to do. 30, I need to do this. 28. And I said, okay, where do I need to be in 2001 then? Right. And I stayed very true to those goals. And I remember I was in Manchester. I was an assistant manager. I was there for a year, and I was following my timeline, you know, uh, and I had 1 year in that timeline. I remember talking to my boss saying that I need to be a manager now. And I ended up leaving that company. I've done that a few times in my in my career, because I was very loyal and true to my timeline. So if you were not meeting my timeline, I did not want to compromise on that. So I think setting timelines is very, very important. And the third one, and I think some of the things that I'm saying, people have heard it many times, is to believe in yourself, and you just can't give up. When I look back at what happened in 9/11, I'll give you a quick story. Before I went onto this job of cleaning rooms, I had a quick stop in Iowa. It was a Days Inn hotel, and nothing against Days Inn. This guy called me up. He's like, "Hey, we'll give you an internship. Come to Days Inn," and in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, I was there. And I went there. I stayed there for a day, and I saw what was happening. And without a job, next day I went to this guy and I said, "Sorry, I can't do this." And it's not because it was beneath me, but it was not true to my plan. It was not true to, I was like, this is not going to help me being in that environment and this experience. I'm just going to be stuck here for another 18 months. And I think it's very important to, even though you're staying true to your goals and to your timeline, finding the courage to step away and having that understanding of what is right for you and what is not right for you. Number four is, and my dad used to say this all the time, that there is absolutely no substitute to hard work. Don't try to find shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. And if you become successful, or if you achieve something in life through a shortcut, know that it's going to be short-lived if it's a shortcut. Uh, I have So these were kind of my macro level four things that I wanted to share. I also want to share quick things that I have learned over the years that people can apply at work, right? Which are not very macro, because many times we have this vision, and then people who are listening, who are in, a manager somewhere, is like, well, what do I do with this information, right? So I wanted to share some tangible things. One is, always find people you can count on. One thing that we don't do well is we don't go out and seek mentors, because I don't know. And you look at the sports industry, you look at some of the best athletes in the world who are number one, and they still have a coach. And we're so far from number one, and we don't want to have a coach because we're so like, oh, we'll figure it out on our own, you know and you see the best players having coaches, and we don't have a coach. So always seek out. Don't wait for people to come to you and say, hey, I want to mentor you. Few and far between. Go and find a coach, find a mentor. Align yourself with the right company early on, so that you have the right building blocks. So the second one is, people must get out of their comfort zone. If you're somebody who wants to be successful, if you are somebody who wants to do more, you have to get out of your comfort zone. The moment you realize that you're in your comfort zone, that should set a signal and say, dude, I need to get out of here and I need to do more, because that means you're getting complacent. So whether it is, it doesn't mean that you have to leave the job. It might be something that you acquire new skills, you go travel, you learn about people, you learn about cultures, you pick a book, but get out of your comfort zone, because that is the way you'll be able to accomplish bigger and better things. Number three, be I always say, pick one thing and be the best at it. And I know there are people who can be jack of all trades, and they might have done well, but my mantra in my life has been, pick one thing and be best at it. And for me, that thing was hospitality. you know for someone else, it could be being a teacher or being a sports person or being a doctor, right? But you have You have to be best at what you do, and that should be your brand. Like when people say, I want to hire somebody for a live chat, they should go to Dr. Hari, right? So that's the brand you want to build for yourself. And one thing, and I've seen this in my life, and I've had this conversation with many people who are aspiring, is always do more than what is expected from you. And I think people miss out the point here. Many times people are working for bosses and maybe for companies, and they're like, why should I put in more effort? I'm not getting recognized. I'm not getting rewarded. I have from the very beginning said, don't worry about recognition. Don't worry about rewards, because I've always believed that it is stored somewhere. If you work hard and you always do more than what is required of you, it is stored somewhere, and it's gonna, now it might not come to you, it will come later on. Somebody will realize it and pick you up. you know and three last things. Mindset, it has again worked for me. I hear many times people talk about work. I'm looking for the week forward to the weekend. I want to work 8 to 5. If you consider work as work, then you're not doing what you should be doing. I The way I still, I'm now fortunate being in the role that I am. I get weekends off. I still go to work on weekends, right? Because I don't consider it as work. That is part of my family. And I think when you start seeing what you do for a living, right, as part of your life, it becomes your purpose. Then it's not a burden to go to work. Then you really enjoy. And it shows in your confidence, it shows in your performance. So don't consider work as a burden. Don't consider work as work. Two last things. Always be a continuous learner. If you think that you're the smartest person in the room, get out of that room, because then you're in the wrong room. Always make sure that as you're coming up, and basically until you die, be a continuous learner and learn new things. And the last one, to sum it all up, always give back. If As you become fortunate in life, as you start making money, as you start getting more knowledge, give back, because you owe it to this world, you owe it to your fellow human beings, you owe it to your community. Make sure you're doing your part. Don't worry about what is happening, who is doing, who is not doing. You do what you're supposed to do. Give back. And I think that's a big mantra that people need to have. It might be something small, it might be an advice. Give an advice. Okay, you might have done what you're supposed to do. So these are kind of my life lessons, my life philosophies that I've learned over the years.
Thank you, Malik. You have actually covered the entire spectrum for a person to be more successful. Good. I remember a few incidents where, while I was in Switzerland, after reaching Switzerland, people who are already studying there wanted to see the people who have reached Switzerland. So that evening, the next day evening, we all assembled, and then you, Subaya, and then a few more people came, and then we were all waiting. Then you gave few tips about life in Switzerland, about the course, about the way the exams are conducted, and what are the things to be more focused on, what are the things to be careful about, and things like that. That is one incident which actually helped for the 6 months where I was in school, in the Swiss Hotel Management School. And the second area where I would like to highlight is, while we finished our period in school and we have to look for internship, during the third month, fourth month, I came to your room, and then you gave your CV, your curriculum vitae, and you said, like, okay, you use this as a sample and then as a template, and then you fill in your details, and then maybe you can share it when you're done. And then that, of course, I've seen a lot of CVs, I've seen a lot of resumes. The one thing which got stuck in my head when in your CV, I don't know whether you remember, it says, do the do the right thing in the first time, and then always be consistent, basically. And then it's not that you start off with something and then you slowly change on the course. You put the entire effort, focus, and then do it the first time and all the time, things like that. Why I'm highlighting that is, like, many people would have come in life, but few things what they do at that particular time, that's a great help. Because same internship, when I wanted to go to Bellevue, past Geneva 20 minutes. I think I came and told you, and you said, okay, you want to go? Okay, let's go. And then we got into the train. We got down in Geneva Gar, and then from there we went. You were there and you asked questions. I mean, after the formal interview, you said you would like to meet the owner. It was a small hotel with a restaurant, Mr. Shukur Hadi in Bellevue. So you sat with them and then you asked few questions about how is he planning to expand the business. And I was thinking, like, I came for interview, but then why Malik is interviewing the owner? But then, like, it gave me a lot of insight, like how he is looking at the property where I'm going to be doing a training. And the questions you asked, it's basically like in order to see what will be my growth, if what is their growth, and these kind of things. Now I realize, or a little bit later. But at that point, I was thinking, like, it's good he has come, but why is he asking questions to the owner? The reason I'm and I remember, like you said, like what kind of business are you looking at? Are you planning to expand? And what is the number of packs, number of covers in your restaurant, in your hotel? How many beds and how many staff are already working? I remember all these questions, and then uh, that few instances here and there, even though at that point of time when you're told, it might have sounded, or I didn't take it in that serious manner, but it helped me in different stages. And also, like, supporting students, as you said, like, after I moved to US after finishing my course, I started doing the same. As you always say, pay forward. Those kind of things I'm still doing, because I can't come back to you and take you to your interview and then start asking the owner about what's the expansion. But then, like, things what you did helped, and I'm sure it's not just me. There are many people who have also got this kind of help and support. Now we move to the next segment. This segment is focused on the hospitality industry. What is the situation of hospitality industry before COVID? Okay, how was it? And then we come to the current situation. How is it now? And then how do you see way forward? These are the three areas. But I'll tell you, it's an ocean, so I'll tell you the areas to focus. One is, I'm looking more at expanding. When you look at buying more properties, how was the scenario before and how is it now? Or when you look at certain innovations which has to come, because this COVID situation worldwide, what it has made is all the experience-based business are now seen in a different way. The perception has changed. Now it's more of safety, more of infection control. These are the aspects people have started seeing. So how do we see hospitality industry? Over to you.
Yeah. So let me share some couple of for those people who might not be from the industry, right? So if I use pre-COVID data of 2019, travel and tourism, direct and indirect, kind of accounted for almost 9 trillion US dollars to the world GDP. 10.3 of global GDP came from travel and tourism. 1 in 10 jobs around the world are in hospitality, travel, and tourism. And in South Asia alone, the economic impact of travel and tourism is almost $235 billion in the year 2019. So before we kind of let's talk about COVID, and then we can go back and forth. Our industry has been really hit hard. It was one of the first industries that took the hit. People have been furloughed, people have lost jobs, hotels are closed, some hotels are permanently closed, owners are struggling, employees are struggling, vendors are struggling. And 2020 in US is projected to be the worst year on record for hotel occupancy, right? So needless to say, we have been hit hard. I have to tell you that that is one aspect of it. Uh, the industry has also been very resilient. I'll tell you, and it's been quick to react. So uh, we have taken this opportunity, right? And the companies that are global brands and hotels that are still able to be open and come up with programs on, okay, like for example, I work for Hilton. So Hilton came up with clean stay program, and now we are talking about Lysol and disinfectants and UV protection and infrared, and Marriott did commitment to clean, and Accor did something, and Hyatt did something. So I was very impressed that within a matter of weeks, these are big companies with 4 or 5 thousand hotels around the world. They were able to come up with this program, study COVID and what is required, understand the customer sentiment, that suddenly, as you said, going from experience to now safety and cleanliness, uh, and coming up with programs. So that is the positive news. I've been very impressed how the industry has reacted, but it's a very long road to recovery, Hari. What we see here in US, and we see this around the world, is many hotels who were supported by owners who had one or two hotels, who are really relying on day-to-day occupancy, day-to-day business, month-to-month business. They don't have the cash flow to sustain. So a lot of these hotels are being permanently shut down. There's few companies, there are some very disciplined big companies who had forecasted a downturn in the economy. Nobody forecasted COVID, right? But people had forecasted a downturn in the economy, had saved enough on their balance sheets, and they are using this opportunity to acquire some hotels. They're using this opportunity to expand their portfolio, because I think the overall sentiment, and it has lots of moving parts, so I'm trying to keep it brief. The overall sentiment is that we're going to bounce back. It might take time. It might take a few months for a vaccine. We're going to bounce back. People innately are going to want to travel again. And I know we're in very different stages between India, where you are, and in the US, where we are, from where COVID is. Here, what we're seeing, even though you see what is happening in US from a pandemic perspective, we're seeing people traveling within dry markets, right? So I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I'm, in the beautiful Northwest, and we have two hotels here in Portland. One of the hotels is closed. The second one is still open, and we see people coming on weekends or on weekdays, for 2 days, for 3 days with their families, but they're only driving. They're not flying, and they stay for a couple of days. And you're right. We have gone as an industry. So if you look at the evolution of industry, it started with having hotels, and in the last 20 years the industry has evolved so much. We started boutique hotels, we started lifestyle hotels. Take example of Hilton, which went from one brand to 20 brands, and Marriott from one brand to 30 brands. And we really went from almost being a service oriented industry to a hospitality, and people, like, what do people really want? If you look at hotels now, like, obviously my experience is more in US. Hotels have become part of the community. It is not like sleeping is the last thing that they're trying. Yes, you have a room, you can go there and sleep there, but hotels are trying to do so much more than just offering rooms. They're talking about, we're offering experiential services, customized experiences, and there are hotels who came with whatever, whenever. So we just took hospitality and what we are providing as a service to a whole different level. Hotels have also become part of communities. So they are very, very ingrained in the community, very active in the community, from an economic perspective, employment perspective, leadership perspective, political perspective. So hotels have certainly kind of fragmented themselves in the community and around the nation and around the globe, and really reached new levels. Before COVID hit, to your kind of question earlier, before COVID hit, 2019 was a good year for us as an industry. And 2020, people were a bit skeptical. Sorry, people were skeptical, but there were still high hopes for year 2020 globally for the industry, right? So you will see a lot of mergers and acquisitions probably in the coming years or coming months. You'll see a lot of hotels shut down and being repurposed for something else. You'll see a lot of owners going out of business, but eventually, as as an industry, we're going to bounce back. And that's not true for just the hotel industry. That is true for everything. We're going to come out of this. we're going to bounce back out of, if we had Spanish flu more than 110 years ago, and then other diseases, and it took 4 years, 5 years at that time, millions of people died. Imagine where we are in R&D right now, right? And you have companies like Moderna here and other companies around the world who are on stage 2, stage 3 of a vaccine. So this is an optimistic view, and I like to be optimistic, because if I don't want to be optimistic, I can just turn on the news and hear the other side of this. So I would try to be optimistic that we're going to bounce back. And hospitality is at the core. It has always been about caring about people, right? Whether it is providing experiences, or whether it's been providing a service, or whatever you're providing to your, it's always about understanding the people and making sure that you're meeting and exceeding their expectations. And it could be at different levels, from a 2-star hotel to a 5-star hotel.
Thank you, Malik. You, in fact, gave a clear picture of how it is now and how we are looking forward. Uh, there are few areas where you see, for example, when it comes to, as you rightly said about the infection control part and things like that, are there any innovations from technology side which is being used apart from this UV and all those areas?
Yes.
Are there any some innovations which are coming up? Because I see in healthcare they have come up with certain approaches. They've changed the protocols in order to help people get that feel like, okay, now it's even more safer, that it's not going to be most of the wards they've started with robo. Okay, like
Sure.
we have robots serving food and giving medicines and things like that. Of course, the key functions are still with humans, but the peripherals, whatever could be covered, are now done by robots. Anything in that aspect you would like
Sure.
to shed light on?
So it's a very interesting point, because we went from a very high touch industry, right? So I remember when we're getting trained, or when I'm training the team, we're before COVID, we're trying to increase the touch points with the guests. Like, okay, they will be greeted with so many people, so many interactions, creating memories, spending more time with them, building a bond. And if you go to super luxury hotels, by from the time a guest calls to the time they actually arrive and get to a hotel, they probably are interacting with 10 to 20 people, even on the property, right? And in some cases, when the managers are coming out, and for VIPs and so on and so forth. So we went from a very high touch industry to now, how do we go on the other extreme, which is no contact, because that is what the sentiment is right now. So if you are a good hotel, you should be providing no contact. So two tangible examples that I want to share here. And to your point, technology is going to play an instrumental role moving forward. And technology already was playing a huge role in the hospitality industry, but now more than ever, we're exploring that. So two things. One, for example, again, I'll give an example of Hilton, and I know other companies have this too. We have touchless check-in. So if you are a Hilton Honors member, for example, you can have an app, right? And you can check in from the app. You can download your electronic key on your smartphone. You don't have to stop anywhere. You arrive at the hotel, you can go all the way to your room, put your phone next to the lock on the door, and there you go. You have entered the room. In our hotel, we do that. In our hotel, we have also removed all the touch points. For example, we used to have menus and different handouts. Everything is digital now. So we have put a channel on our TV. When guests check in, everything is there. The welcome letter from the GM, all our safety protocols, how often do we clean, what are we using, the menus, what to do in Portland. So again, it is understanding the sentiment of the people. What do they want, and how do we do it better? The second thing, from you mentioned restaurants, right? So there are restaurants that are not in hotels. The restaurant industry is a huge industry. Already we are looking at that option when we open our restaurants, and I know some people have already done that. Is a lot of restaurants are removing menus. So now you go to your table, you see a QR code there, you take your smartphone, you put your smartphone next to the QR code, let it read it, the menu comes up, you order from your phone. And the only time really you're interacting with somebody is when they're bringing food to you. Or if there's a robot, then you don't have to interact with that person either. So technology is going to play a pivotal role moving forward, because as we navigate through this new normal, right? We hear this word a lot, through this new normal, until we get back to where people are comfortable, with people again, is technology is going to play a big role in that.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, in terms of handling the human capital, how do we go with manpower? Definitely, downsizing has to happen. Performance-based exit has to happen. All these things, how is it handled when it comes to especially manpower part, like layoff and things like that? Because I know it's a difficult question. If you would prefer not to answer, it's okay.
No,
But if you would
no,
like to,
no. Yeah. Hey, listen, if I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you I'll figure it out, or I'll get back to you. No, but this is something we have done already, right? So
okay,
it's
yeah, that's
I think it's not a difficult question. It's just an emotional question, to be honest with you. I'll give you
yeah,
an example.
delicate.
Yeah, I'll give you my example. Before COVID, I had a team of close to 400 people. We had 60 leaders working, and another 340 team members working for us. And from almost 400 team members, we're down to 25 people, right? So, and again, when it goes to layoffs and furloughs, you have to follow your local laws. Here, in US, obviously we're following our local laws. So we haven't done layoffs, but what we have done, we call it furlough. We have furloughed lots of people. And basically furlough is, you're not laid off, you don't have a job, and you're not getting paid. So basically furlough means we can bring you back anytime you want. So it's, to put it simply, it's just one step better than getting laid off, if you will. And it's been and I'm, by the way, I'm not, I can say it's delicate and it's emotional. I'm not the victim here, because I've been fortunate, I still have a job. But I've had to have those conversations with people. And especially in the hospitality industry, until you reach a stage, even in the US, a lot of people are really working paycheck to paycheck, and they're depending on that paycheck, and they're depending on those hours, because a lot of workforce here works on hourly as compared to salary, right? So in our hotels, we have gone from 400 to 25 people, and we have had to have those conversations. And it's been 4 months now. Those people are furloughed. So people are suffering. Obviously, we're going from a health crisis, which is the COVID, to an economic crisis,
Correct.
because people don't have money, and people don't have savings. Nobody saw this coming. So it's we obviously care about the team, we care about the people, but on the other side of the spectrum, I also want to talk for the owners, right? The owners, in many cases, don't have the cash flow to sustain. And I know there are people who might say, like, well, you can still pay us and all that. Sure, I'm hoping there are owners out there who are like, we're still gonna keep you going. Unfortunately, there are many owners who don't even have the cash flow to sustain their debt,
Okay.
right? So there's many moving parts. And in our case, the exits that we have done, or furloughs, have not been performance based. It's been because of the pandemic.
So, situation. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Now we are moving on to the third segment. Okay, we are finished with the second segment. We are moving on to the separate segment, which I told you.
Go ahead.
You are given a time machine with which you can go back to SHMS days. You are given a time machine now, and you're going back to SHMS days. If you'd like to rewrite what all has happened, how would it be from the SHMS days?
um, if I'll make it a bit personal, Hari, if you don't mind.
Please.
If I truly was given a time machine, the only thing that I would use that time machine was to go and spend some time with my dad, because I lost him in 2004. And sorry, I I was not able to see him when he passed away. Sorry. So that's the only thing I would use a time machine for. Sorry, Hari.
No issue, no issue.
Sorry.
Sorry. Sorry.
But SHMS, I'll tell you, SHMS was an incredible experience. I've always believed that you cannot you cannot make something strong with a weak foundation. My family, my SHMS. I remember one of the reasons we picked SHMS was because we wanted to pick the best school there is, and I know there are other schools that can be best as well. But that experience that I got in SHMS, we had people from 60 different countries, you know, understanding people from different cultures, having those interactions, learning to tolerate other people, and really having an understanding that, people from different parts of the world see things differently. It gave me that perspective. It really gave me that perspective because, and I think it's not true just for the hospitality industry, it's true in general that you have to understand people's perspectives. And we have 200 plus countries, or I don't know what the number is today, but you have all these different cultures, right? You have to be able to understand people and work with them and live with them if we're talking about a global world. And SHMS helped me shape that thought process.
Thank you, Malik. And now the next question is, if you become the governor, what changes would you like to see? Maybe you can highlight three.
In US, if I became a governor, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wow. I'll talk about my state here in in Oregon, right? So Oregon, our governor actually has done a good job. We are one of the states where COVID has been really managed well. We have a huge problem with homelessness in Portland, and you will see that issue in across the U.S. in big cities, in downtowns. If I was made the governor, I would really put a lot of effort in getting the homeless situation sorted out. There, as a business leader, we are very involved in those conversations, and I wish the government would do more. So that is one. The second, and I'm talking about a US, right? Things that are applicable to US. Right now in the US, the Black Lives Matter movement is huge, and people have faced injustice for decades and decades. People who are Black and who are African American in US. I think politicians, it's high time that we address that issue, and not only do we address that issue, but we come up with practical solutions. How do we eradicate systemic racism? How do we get people out of this vicious circle when they are in these poor neighborhoods where they don't have good public schools, right?
Yes.
So that would be number two. On these are the two things I would really focus on to begin with.
Okay. Now it's a gratitude slot where you can actually mention the name of people who has helped you to be who you are as of now, who you owe your success to. Please go ahead and name them, and you can pay your gratitude to them.
Yeah, I've been so fortunate. I've been so fortunate all my life. I've met friends who have really been with me. I have a couple of best friends from my school who we don't talk for a year, but I know I can call them anytime. And I'm sure I have one of my friends on live right now, Masood, who might be watching, and friends who are there with me, who have always supported me and who are always going to be there for me and with me. There are people who I met through my school and my university, and made those relationships, and teachers and professors who guided me along the way. I pay my gratitude to them. My wife, we have, I think I was telling you yesterday, we have moved 11 times in last 15 years, in last 16 years. 11 times we have moved, because of my job and because I wanted to stay true to my path.
Yeah.
Yeah, globally, right? And so I could not have done that without my wife. She has put up with a lot of nonsense with me on moving and relocation. So I owe a lot to her, and she's been a huge support. But you know, but I owe all of it to my parents, right? Because they gave me the strong foundation. Oh, I should not forget my sister. She won't be happy because she's watching. She is my advisor. Yeah, 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 yeah. Don't let me not forget my sister. You know, she's my advisor, and she's a scholar in our home, and you know, she's been a huge support. But yeah, I owe it all to my family and so many people and mentors along the way, right? Who pick you up, because you can work hard all the time, but you always need people who are gonna pick you up and give that opportunity.
Okay. Now we'll see the people who have commented while we are chatting. We have Ahmad Bharti, welcome all. And then we have Masood. Is this a Masood you mentioned, Masood Hassan?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Keep it up, bro, he said. And then Imran, God bless, bro, keep it going. Then Miss Shazia, loving it.
Yeah, that's
Then
my
you have,
sister.
oh, okay. 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 Then you have Kashif, mashallah, great going, buddy. Then you have Mansoor, Mr. Mansoor
Yeah,
Raja, good
that's
job.
my father-in-law. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Then we have Arios TV, mashallah. We have Ray and Malik, good job. We have Ahmad Badi again, great insight into today's hospitality. While you were explaining about the how the GDP and all those things are working out, and be strong, love you from your sister. Then Meenakshi Gopal, she's from Kent, UK. Proud of you. I know exactly how it is when this one person is not in our life, but you did great. Then we have Wong, proud of you, Malik.
That's nice of her.
Okay, now if you sum up the whole thing, of course, there's you know a lot of miles to travel, and but I'm just saying, like if you sum up what all has happened so far till date, topmost learning and your message to the world.
Uh, I think I have two or three things. We have like 5 minutes, right? We have 5 minutes.
No,
So
you
I
can go
think
ahead. Don't worry about the time.
so.
You
I
can go ahead.
think if I'll use this opportunity. One, you know, we talk a lot about success, and you know, people can read all the books on success and what success means. Success is very different for different people. For me, it's never been about money. It's about satisfaction and achieving your goals. I do want to talk about success in a different light, because I think we are so consumed by self success. I really hope and wish that we also start considering success of others. And I'm hoping that we start looking at success differently, where we're looking at success of our friends, success of our communities, success of our nation, success of this planet, and not be consumed on just about our own success, even though we spend so much time on that. But I hope we take it to the next level and start looking at success of others as well. You know, the second thing is, you know, I touched a lot on passion, and people need to be passionate about what they do. At some point in life, you also have to figure out, how do you turn that passion into a purpose? Because sure, now you might be driving a good car, a good house, you have your family, and you've made it in life. But how do you make it your calling? How do you go above and beyond and make it a purpose, so that you can leave a legacy behind, so that you know that, you know, when you're done, that you look back at your life and you say, you know, I made a difference. I had one life and I lived it right, and I did something for this world. I'm leaving a better world for my children and for the generations to come. And the last one is, I think people have to, early on in life, find their non-negotiables, right? And what those non-negotiables are, I think they have to go above and beyond their career. And I want to take this opportunity, because there's so much happening in the world right now, Hari, you know, from whether it is injustice, whether it is peace, whether it is the economy, whether it is the climate change, it all has to start at an individual level. People have to understand early on in life, what are my core principles and what are my non-negotiables, something that I cannot compromise on. And if you see what is happening around the world, especially when you look at injustice and inequality and how people are being treated, one thing that I always tell my team is there is no they. And what I mean by that, when people say somebody's going to come and sort it out or they are coming, I always tell my team there is no they. Never wait for they or them. And I think we have to take this opportunity to make sure we understand that there is no they. We have to figure out these things. We have to speak up. We have to be bold. We have to speak up against injustice, inequality, and things that are impacting our communities. Start from your home. You don't have to go out and gather a million people. Start from your home, start from your neighborhood, start from your community, start from your workplace. But figure out those non-negotiables, figure out those things that you feel strongly about, and be an advocate of those things.
Thank you, Tauseen. I asked 60 minutes of your time, and in the 60 minutes, we have covered whatever I had in my mind, a little bit over that as well. There are few areas which you told actually. I wish more people adapt to that and start practicing it, and especially the message which you gave at the end applies not just to the viewers but also to the leaders of the different countries, where if we all could think in that direction, lot more could be achieved and lot more what is happening could be avoided. Positive impact could be more stronger. Thank you. And I haven't told you in the past. I would like to tell now. Your sister is seeing, and a lot of other viewers are seeing. A lot of areas where I've seen success. It's because of certain areas. What you have actually guided me during the college days, during PG days in Switzerland. Thanks for that. And
Always.
also, like few things which you told, whatever you told today. Also, of course, it's going to be on YouTube, and definitely it will be referred quite more times in the coming years. Wherever I could take this, definitely I'll take this message.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Tauseen.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Tauseen,
much.
for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Mr. Tauseen Malik touched on many areas, especially the hospitality part when he discussed about the GDP part of it, or the revenue which was being yielded and things like that, and also the overall spectrum when he touched about the success, when he touched about the life. There are many areas which he has discussed today, which he shared today, for the future generation and for the people who actually want to lead their life in a right path. I would suggest you to keep referring whenever you require this. Uh, there are many instances where I could have brought it up, but then since we have 60 minutes, I touched on very few points. It's just not me. There are many students from our college where he has helped and he is helping. Thanks for watching, and please do keep supporting. And just one more thing, we also have Dr. Steve Anandan from Norway at 12 o'clock India time and 8:30 Norway time. Thank you.